Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have been working in the AIDS field since 1990, and I'm following UNGA since 2001. Notwithstanding the efforts of some governments and other key stakeholders, none of the UNGA's AIDS 2001 goals were achieved in 2003 or 2005. And at the current rate of progress and insufficient funds made available by international cooperation, it is sure that universal access will not be reached by 2010 either. It is time to talk frankly about that. UNGA's AIDS reinforces the necessity of having civil society and people living with AIDS in designing, evaluating, participating in all processes of the national AIDS response. Civil society is still obliged to provide services that should be the government's responsibility, such as in the field of women's sexual and reproductive health, especially for friendly services for women and girls. However, we are considering annoying when we start monitoring the AIDS response. We acknowledge that there are positive examples of civil society participation in some countries. Of course we do. But the continued exclusion or tokenist involvement of the community sector in many other countries puts into question the validity of the 2008 reports. This exclusion is especially true for women, youth, and marginalized populations that governments still do not want to recognize. And to be clear, I am talking about transgender, men who have sex with men, lesbians, sex workers, and people who use drugs. Given this, the difficulties of holding governments accountable is a fact. There is a clear conflict of interest because those who implement cannot be the ones monitoring and evaluating their own response. We can see this in relation to corruption, which is a grave problem in many non-democratic and democratic countries alike. Corruption impacts the AIDS response, but this is not referred to in reports. Many governments, whether from developing or developed countries, have failed to report the reality on the ground to this assembly. In fact, over 40 countries failed to even report. And so what? What will happen to them for not reporting properly? Where is the accountability here? This high-level meeting must direct us toward a new and integrated accountability system with effective participation of civil society at all levels, not only for rubber-stamping government's reports. Technical assistance or any other important strategy will not work without efficient mechanism for an accountability framework that includes civil society. A real partnership between government, donors, and the affected population requires a balance of power in making decisions, including decisions of funding allocation. And UNAIDS and other UN-relevant organizations must have a strong position in the countries to defend and support this inclusive mechanism. We face a crisis that challenges the political project of universal access by 2010 because there is a development model that makes priorities of the problem instead of creating integrated solutions for the problem. It's a false competition. AIDS cannot and should not fight for space with health systems, strengthening climate change, or food supply crisis. All of this problem must be addressed in a coordinated, integrated, and consistent way. This is why we need to review our strategic thinking and create a clear mechanism of mutual accountability. Proper accountability is not just a rubber stamp, it is required at all levels. There is no other option. Thank you.